allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call the Lamar City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, July 18, 2023 to order. Roll call, please.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Donlin?
Here.
Wick?
Yes.
Sturgeon?
Yes.
Bruns?
Here.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. General discussion. Any citizens here to discuss general items, not all at once? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Thumbs Up Award. Mike, do you have anything for the Thumbs Up Award?
Not this time.
Brian?
Pass.
Clark?
Anything that anybody else has for thumbs up, I add to it.
Oh, yeah? No. I don't. I have one, and I commented to you guys, and since you're sitting here too, Brad, your report on the trees is many thumbs up. So, unbelievable, thorough report on every tree in this community. That's pretty amazing. So, at least that belongs to the city anyway.
370 thumbs up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So, it was impressive.
I mentioned that as well, how impressed I was with the report. I don't have to go count all the trees that are out there now. So, thank you.
Yes.
I have one also. This past weekend, we hosted WICFest here in Lamar's, and the number of comments that I got from my very diverse family was all positive and all impressed. They loved our community, they loved what we have, and they said, we want to come back. So thumbs up to our community for making that kind of impression on a family like mine. So
WICFest, is that a family reunion?
it is it every summer, yeah.
Oh, yeah, nice. Okay, Mark?
I would add to what the mayor and Clark and Steve says about the job on the trees. I really appreciate that work. And also the vendors and the businesses downtown for Crazy Days. It was really well attended. Seemed like a lot of fun things to look at and purchase.
All right, very good. Okay, moving along to consent items. Under the list of consent items, we have an approval of the July 6, 2023 regular meeting minutes, a list of bills for period ending 7/14/23, monthly financial statement for June 2023, renewal of liquor license for Casey's and Corkett, certified list of qualified civil service examinees, Plywood Trail Phase 1B change order number 1, a request to close the street on Lamar's PD, urban revitalization tax exemption request, and a certification of the municipal utility liens. And that will require a roll call.
I just note C6, if you looked at that,
Mm-hmm.
that change order number 1, so it reduces. It goes from awarded cost of 2.3 million down to 1.9.
Can we do some change orders like that in some of our projects?
Yeah.
Motion to approve consent items 1 through 9 with the resolution on number 9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Wick?
Yes.
Sturgeon?
Yes.
Bruns?
Yes.
Motion carried. Moving on to action item number 1, Parks and Rec Committee. So informal discussion has been had in the past, possibly bringing back some form of the Parks and Recreation group that was previously established by ordinance, was compensated, made policy and rules, and had exclusive control of expenditures. Attached is a draft of an ordinance that would establish a Parks and Recreation Committee. The committee would be set up to advise and make recommendations to the council. City administrator recommends that the council not proceed. Parks and public facilities already fall under the Public Works Committee. The YMCA and the golf course already fall under the Community Services Committee. Both of those existing communities are advisory. So that's Jason Dreck's recommendation. I would like to see it resurrected in some form. Because I think we do have some very passionate employee or citizens, when it comes to the parks and recreation. And, I think, it'd be advised that we get and garner some of their input. I think the perfect example was the Westmar tennis courts. We made a decision, or didn't make a decision, but, we're having a discussion and, found there was a fair amount of use going on with those courts that wasn't noticed by all of us, and there were some people that had passion behind it. So I have had about 7 people come reach out to me to willing to serve on such a committee. So I don't think finding volunteers and quality volunteers would be a problem at all.
I have a question for Jason, related to, since the predecessor to this committee was dissolved, and we're seeing here that Public Works is covering that base, how is the community aware of Public Works Committee meetings, and how do they interact, and just what is the dynamic where the community gets
There
involved?
is none. There is none.
So if this did provide the venue for that, it would be different actually than the Public Works.
Yeah, I can try to explain it, Mike, and you can chime in. So the existing committees that we have are not established by council, okay? What this would be differently is if you establish this by council, then it opens it up to public notice. It opens it up to an agenda being distributed, and it opens it up to open meetings
A lot like our library board.
laws, yeah.
Okay.
Which is fine. I mean, there's not a whole lot of work that needs to be done in that aspect, but that would be the difference. If you guys enact and establish a Parks and Recs committee, it goes in the code of ordinance book, and then it's open to the public.
This draft chapter 25 is modeled after something from somewhere that you put together, Mike, or what?
Jason did the first draft and I reviewed it. Yes, the way this is set up, it doesn't set a specific meeting schedule. That would be up to the board itself. You know, whether that's quarterly, monthly, however they wanted to do their meetings. It would be an open meeting when they had such meetings. And it's advisory only. So our library, obviously, our library board has a lot of powers from our code ordinances on how to spend the money that you as the council give them. The way this is drafted is they're only an advisory committee. We're not gonna fund them with X dollars and they can spend those dollars how they see fit. That would still come at our normal budget time each year.
So it's similar to the CBB where they make recommendations. but it's
And we
also-
give those recommendations a lot of weight, and as we've discussed, if you do, you know, form this committee, you should give that committee some weight in their recommendations. Otherwise, the committee's really not serving any purpose. So,
If we didn't do this and we just stayed with our Public Works, you know, how can we change that to get more input from the public? Because I'm on the Public Works, and if we did this, I'd wanna be on this, so I'm just asking, how do we get that input before an issue comes up like the tennis courts?
And is the work of the Public Works Committee now busy enough where this would be compound the time commitment for that? I'm not on it, so I don't know. No, nice.
I mean, we're not,
Okay.
you know, we're not overwhelmed by no means on the existing committee meetings.
Okay.
And I'm not sure establishing this committee is going to overwhelm anyone either, as far as meetings are concerned.
It's interesting to note that it was compensated before. Well,
Yeah, I was gonna actually ask that, what was that, what I was gonna.
I don't know what they received.
Because when I was on it, a liaison to it from the council, I don't know what that means, because I don't think there was any that word. No one
What I
was- no one
told
was
Clark,
paid
it may
for
have
it.
been just, it might have been the incarnation of the board before maybe you were involved.
Okay, so I came in on its downhill slide probably. My question is, some of this has kind of somewhat been asked, but what would the committee look like? I think we answered that, they would not be given a budget, am I right? Is that what you said, Mike?
Yeah, as this is drafted, that's correct.
Input.
Right. So how do I, if we don't have input now,
This committee could report to council at periodic times throughout the year.
let me ask you.
Just like
No,
we have all the other
honestly,
reports
honestly,
come
the
through.
existing, the ones I mentioned here, Parks and Public Facilities, or the Public Works Committee, and the Community Services Committee, anything that comes out of them, those committee meetings, if there's any action that needs to be taken, it still comes to council.
Sure.
So those in itself, they're simply advisory right now.
But the
So it
ability
would
for
really
the
look
public-
no different, except there would be citizens that would be involved in it.
Yeah, those
Right.
committees are city employees at this point.
Right, and the
This
ability
committee
for the
would be
public
outside.
input would be where we would tell them we're going to meet,
Yeah.
and show up and.
We would probably hold them in here in case
Yeah.
What,
anybody
quarterly?
came.
Quarterly?
That'd be up to
Oh,
the
we
committee.
could, it'd
It would
be,
be probably up to the committee.
it'd be established, that schedule would be established according to this by the committee.
Then let me ask this, then, what would they govern? I mean, are we talking parks, are we talking Little League, are we talking
That's what
Hawaii, are
we
we
would have
talking
to
golf course,
decide.
are we talking swimming pools? What would they actually be?
Well, as the ordinance says, parks, playgrounds, recreational facilities, or other forms of recreational opportunities. So it's pretty broad,
It is pretty rough.
but it's,
Again, advisory though,
yeah.
you know.
I would like to be sure that in an advisory role, though, that folks that aren't city employees but are deeply involved in the big four, campgrounds, golf course, YMCA,
Right.
and Little League.
And bike trail.
That they have a voice on the committee, yeah.
Well, nobody works at the bike trail.
Right, that's
They
true.
work at the other ones.
What I do out there is work.
Mark does.
That is true.
Okay, you can be on it then.
Now that-
What I'm getting at is, I don't know about membership or structure-wise, but they should be included.
Yeah,
Because they've
absolutely.
got
Yeah.
important input to
Absolutely.
what growth and where and what not to grow and,
And they're in touch with the needs and.
yeah.
It would be my hope that those people would think they need to come to these meetings, right?
Either come as what? Just input
Yeah.
or beyond the committee.
One or the other.
So
And I hope it's not so frequent that it's a pain in the butt type of.
No, that's what I was saying, quarterly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 6 times a year, you know, and a staggered membership of some sort, probably 2 years.
Yeah, that's
4
it,
years.
that's it here.
I
Oh,
think
that is, okay.
quarterly and as needed, so if something were arising, you could do it outside of the 4 meetings.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I would make a motion to establish August 1, 2023, at 12:00 PM for a public hearing to amend the Lamar's Code of Ordinances by adding Chapter 25 Parks and Recreation Committee.
Second. For discussion, as it is now, are we gonna tweak it some more, or what's gonna come before us?
So that's what we peel apart during the hearing part, is how we.
Okay. So
But
we
I
don't need
would-
to work on it till then.
This gives them a groundwork to start with.
But I would ask Clem and the Sentinel to emphasize, I mean, this is a public hearing, and if we have people out there that are passionate about being on it,
Come help us
this
more.
is the time to step up to the mic and talk about it.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I will certainly reach out to those that have volunteered and have them,
Yeah.
hopefully they can come.
Personal interest or functional, it's part of my job interest.
And then we can decide from here if there's enough interest to move forward with it or not.
Yep. So did we have a second?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So leave the proposed ordinance written as is
Yes.
for now.
Arm yourself with other ideas.
All right. Moving next to item number 2, council briefly discussed at the July 6, 2023 meeting of potentially changing the dates and times of future council meetings. The time of meetings is determined by council, but the days and frequency are by ordinance. If the council wishes to change the days, it will need to change the ordinance. City administrator is recommending that the council decides to change the meeting schedule, that both meetings be held on the same day of the week and at the same time. I was the one who brought this up last time, and after further thought and discussion with you all, there isn't another easy meeting time or date that works great. And since we've only got really 5 more meetings for the rest of this year that fall on the second Thursday or second Tuesday, I'm gonna go ahead and recommend that we just table this discussion. We'll have a new council January 1, and we always go through and decide the meeting dates and times then. And I've talked with Mayor Pro Tem Wick, and he's willing to fill in if I can't make it. I should be able to make at least half of those 5, 2 or 3 meetings, and I might miss a couple meetings. So I think rather than moving things around, just table it for now. So, y'all good with that?
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah.
Phil, still have no motion.
Okay.
I would just add clarification that my quote, if I said it wrong, I don't have to ask a year in advance to have time off. I can only ask a year in advance. So in other words, I can't ask for time in September. I have to wait until I get September this year to ask for next year. That was just a
Okay.
misunderstanding,
Okay.
I think, on how I said it.
That's the soonest you can ask.
But the problem is July and June, where everyone's off, you have to ask for those July and June now, because
Yeah.
I've already seen there's 2 off on our first meeting in July next year, so.
Sure. Well, it's a moving target for everybody, and we'll
Yeah.
kick the can down the road a little bit.
Well, thank you for pulling that
Yeah.
back. I saved us a little bit of work right now.
Sure. Discussion items, Jason.
All right, I'll go through a quick update of existing projects, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you guys have already commented on was Brad's report, and we can talk about the dashboard for a little bit. Alley project, utility work that Cody was waiting on, or Specialized Concrete was waiting on Mid-American, and then a private contractor to do some work in there. That is done. As of yesterday, he has started the subgrade prep for that alley. Once that's done, then all that's left is paving. So it's all that's left, Mike, and you can have your alley back.
Yay.
The Plymouth Street water main lining, that's all the barricades and such over there. That was lining from Central down to 4th Avenue. That is complete. So what is left is they need to just restore the paving. So our crews filled the holes back in, and I believe Rich had Specialized Concrete lined up to pour the patches back. 12th Street Southwest, that PCC overlay project. The existing surface has been milled. That was just over a week ago that was done. That took 1 day. Since then, it's been silent over there. They're finishing up another project, possibly late this week. They'll be in to do the removals. So, doing work around intakes, taking out sidewalk returns, taking off the curb, that's there. And then by mid next week, they should be ready to pave it.
On that project, on the west end of it, so by building blocks there,
Yep.
they stopped their milling about 50 foot short, 30 foot short. Is that gonna get completely?
Short of the concrete, because
Short
concrete
of
extended.
where the concrete start, where the good stuff starts, and what we're replacing ends are about, I mean, I didn't get out and measure it, but I'm looking at it, why didn't they grind that down? So now, when you talk about the replacements, is that slated for complete there? They definitely stop short, unless I'm seeing things screwy.
I'll look at it. If you remember, just like the, off of Central, concrete extends up 50 feet, 60 feet or something, and then it turns to asphalt. I think that same thing happens at Sixth Avenue.
Yeah, but Sixth where 12th Street runs up just from the building blocks headed east, okay? The new concrete is in there so far, in our project so far, okay? But they stopped the new old removal short of that.
Okay.
It's, to me, it looked weird,
Okay.
and I didn't know what was going on.
Well, I'll look at it.
Yeah, please do.
So yes, yeah, so hopefully by mid next week they'll be paving that. And their intent is to pave that entire stretch in one day. So then once it's paved, then they'll have to come back and pour the intake throats or the intake tops and portions of driveways.
Feel confident it'll be done before school starts.
Yeah. I am.
Good.
I don't know about anybody else. The storm sewer project, back behind off of 12th Street.
Like Kingsley State Bank or whatever.
All that pipe is installed, all they're doing, all that's left is they're constructing that last structure, that junction box that's back there. So that should be wrapping up. The plywood trail, last schedule we had was, well, I went by there this morning. Vander went, who is doing the dirt work, actually for both 1A and 1B. Has a bunch of equipment on